Welcome to U.S. Defense Line Channel. Operations in Kherson intensified. On the southern front, Ukrainian troops are hitting critical points of Russian troops with American HIMARS. Losing more than 700 of its soldiers in just one day, Russia cannot cope with the attacks of Ukraine. This time with HIMARS missile systems, 4 missiles were fired at critical Russian military targets in the Khmyslny region of Kherson. Then it was reported that the Ukrainian forces begin operations against key points of the Russian troops in the Pravdino region. In this region, Ukrainian soldiers bombarded critical points with artillery. Moreover, it is stated that the preparations for different operations on the Kherson front have begun. 5 sets of space satellites were allegedly given to the Pentagon and Ukrainian troops to use. This makes us think that preparations for a major operation may be underway. Moreover, thanks to these satellites, reconnaissance will be carried out and the positions of Russian soldiers and equipment will be easier to find thanks to the control of the regions. Russian army, which has suffered serious losses, has no place to hide anymore. In just one day, 710 soldiers of the Russian troops were neutralized. Last losses of the Russian forces were announced by the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. Ukrainian troops destroyed 4 unmanned aerial vehicles, 9 artillery systems, 15 tanks, 24 armored combat vehicles, 1 air defense system, and 1 aircraft of the Russian forces. It was announced that the Russian military forces suffered the most losses in the Avdiivka and Bakhmut fronts. It is known that these facades are of great importance due to their location. At the same time, Ukrainian units continue to capture important military equipment of the Russian forces. Ukraine's territorial defense forces captured a rare Russian drone. Ukraine, which has destroyed and captured many military equipment since the beginning of the war, announced that this time Russia captured a Russian Granite 4 unmanned aerial vehicle. Thanks to the Russian military equipment and ammunition seized for months, the available resources of the Ukrainian soldiers and their offensive power are increasing. We can even say that Russian soldiers now have to fight against their own equipment. Explosion sounds continue to echo in the regions. This time, it carried out 24 airstrikes against Russian forces with Ukrainian planes. It was announced that 7 of these attacks were made to the anti-aircraft defense system of the Russian forces, and 17 of them were made to the point where the Russian forces, their weapons and military equipment. Ukraine's air defense forces also destroyed a Lancet 3 and 4 Orlan 10 drones and a Russian Su-25 aircraft. Ukraine's rocket and artillery forces also hit 2 ammunition depots, 2 anti-aircraft missile systems, 5 Russian command centers, 2 points where Russian forces, their weapons and military equipment, and areas where various artillery systems of Russian troops are located. As a result of such accurate moves, Russia is losing hundreds of soldiers and equipment every day. As a result of each equipment and soldier lost, serious decreases occur in both attack and defense power. We can say that Ukraine is proving its success to the whole world, especially by making strategic moves towards critical targets. In fact, these achievements have become an incentive for the support from important countries. In addition, the military equipment of the Russian forces in Kherson and on many fronts continues to be destroyed. Ukrainian General Staff recently confirmed that about 20 pieces of Russian military equipment were hit around the Olapristan region on the Kherson front. Then it was announced that several Russian ammunition depots were destroyed in the Horlivka region on the Donetsk front and in Svatov on the Luhansk front. It is also known that these regions have a very critical importance. For this reason, every win and loss in these regions has become more important than ever. This time, Ukrainian troops hit a storage point of Russian troops around the Dybrova region on the Luhansk front. It was reported that this Russian storage point was destroyed as a result of the artillery attack of the 140th Separate Reconnaissance Battalion of the Marine Corps of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Head of the Luhansk Oblast Military Administration, Serhiy Haidai, shared the details of the region. In this front, where the violence of the war has increased considerably, every move has become much more important now. Russian forces continue to carry out attacks on Ukrainian soil. It was also announced that Russian troops carried out 37 airstrikes, 9 missile attacks, and more than 100 multiple launch rocket system attacks in Ukraine. It was reported that Russian forces carried out attacks on more than 25 areas, including the Zaporizhzhia, Kherson, Mykolaiv, and Luhansk fronts. Dnipropetrovsk front was also the target of Russian attacks. Russia attacked the Dnipropetrovsk region with heavy artillery and groundlers. Russian troops damaged the region with these attacks. Head of the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast Military Administration, Valentin Reznichenko, shared the damages in the regions. According to the statements, Russian forces attacked the vicinity of Nikopol and Marhanets on the Dnipropetrovsk front using multiple launch rocket systems. Russia, which has increased its attacks on infrastructures in particular, continues its attacks against these infrastructures, which bring failure instead of success, even though it is subject to reactions and sanctions. Recently, Russia and Belarus have very clearly shown their support for each other. Military equipment and ammunition flows between Belarus and Russia. These two leaders may be preparing for an attack in the northern region. In a statement, the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces stated that Belarus and Russia continue to form a joint military unit. In addition, the Republic of Belarus' permission to use the territory of the country for Russian troops to attack Ukraine is one of the biggest supports it has given to Russia. But according to the Belarusian leader, there is no question of Belarus trying to get involved in the war. This will show the steps to be taken over time. While Russia can't get any support from the West, Western support continues to come to Ukraine. New aid to Ukraine will come from Italy. Ukraine has long emphasized the importance of air defense systems in the country's defense and asked countries for support in this regard. After Russia's massive missile attacks, Ukraine began to acquire air defense systems more easily. It has been announced that the Italian government is preparing a new package of weapons, including air defense systems, to supply Ukraine. It was reported that Italy will provide Ukraine with various air defense systems, including Italian Aspide, medium-range Franco-Italian SEMT, and portable Stinger missiles. In a phone call with the United States Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, Italian Defense Minister Guido Crosetto promised that Italy would support Ukraine as long as necessary against Russian aggression. This will be Italy's sixth arms aid package to Ukraine. Ukraine also reportedly requested air defense systems from the United States for use against Iranian drones. It has been announced that the weapon Ukraine wants from the United States is a highly mobile air defense system known as the CRAM. Importance of these weapons for the protection of important objects for Ukraine, and especially important power plants, was emphasized. On Monday, Ukraine's Defense Minister Alexei Reznikov announced that the anti-aircraft systems Aspide and NASAM had arrived in Ukraine. As long as such support increases, Ukraine will have a great advantage in the war. On the other hand, Ukraine and Russia did not give a clear answer to the G20 leaders summit to be held in Bali, Indonesia this year. Russia has stated that it has not made a decision yet. In response, Ukraine also declared that it would not participate if Russia joined. In the case of Putin's participation, Western countries did not have a desire to negotiate with Putin. White House announced that United States President Joe Biden was not considering meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin at the summit. Leaders of European countries did not give a positive signal to Russia in this regard. Ukraine's presidential office and Ministry of Foreign Affairs also demanded Russia's exclusion from the G20. Statement about the G20 summit came from Ukraine. Nikiforov, press secretary of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, made the statement. Nikiforov announced that Zelensky will attend the G20 but could not say more. He also noted that Zelensky will most likely attend online. Zelensky has not left his country since the first day of the war, and he is not expected to leave again. In the following days of the war, we will see more clearly in which direction the developments will progress. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.